Hello everybody and welcome to X4 Foundations, and we are running today the collector's edition. If you haven't got this game already, make sure you check out the link below to see a description of the game fully. But in short, it's basically Stellaris and Elite Dangerous mixed and combined into one, with a few little differences here and there. Certainly worth a look, and if you enjoy it, or if you enjoy this guide, or if you're here because you're still struggling to play it, then hopefully once we've gone through a few of these episodes you can play the game nice and easy and enjoy it. So a few things we want to pick up on first before we get started. We're currently running version 2.6. obviously version 3 beta is currently running and playing around, but we're going to concentrate on this, and then when 3 comes out we'll move over to 3 and begin the process again. Another thing I want to point out, it is modified as it says there, and the modifications I'm currently running are these here: the escape teleport, which is definitely something you should invest in even as a new player, and then the faction enhancers here. These faction enhancers and the XR ship pack, the XR ship pack is just good for later game, but these faction enhancers I recommend massively if you have spent an hour or two in the game and you want to improve your gameplay style. Without these it does get a bit stagnant and not much really happens late game, so definitely worth check out these. I'm going to leave them all on so you can see how they run and you can make your own decision. Right, now I have played this game now for quite some time. I've got a game running where I've done 14 days of gameplay, thoroughly enjoying it, and that one's the one that I'm using with the mods. Which is currently a hell of a time. Most of the Xenon race have taken over the whole top section of the place. I won't go into too much detail because there's a little bit of a spoiler there as to what the style of the universe is and stuff like that. But if you'd like to see that, then leave me a comment in the comment section below and I'm sure we can check that out later. But let's get into the game and learn how to play this game from the beginning. The first thing you will notice is there are 4 options that you have.
Struck over the last few decades.
Wait for this to decide to stop.
And the jump gates shut down. The Argon Federation has established itself as a key power in this new jump gate network. And even its most distant colony, Black Hole Sun, is a hub of trade and community. Opportunities are aplenty for all. Every day, scores of young pilots set out from the system for the first time, on their way to find adventure among the stars.
Okay, excellent. So, as it says there, it's just basically giving you a bit of a background story. Now, X4 is kind of set in a completely separate location, so you don't need to have played the other ones to know what's really going on. The idea is that the jump gates have been disabled and some of them are reactivated or whatnot. But the first thing you see here is obviously our 4 options. The Young Gun is the one where you start right from the beginning, and that's where we're going to start today. The other 3 we'll go into at a later stage if anybody is interested, but we're going to stick to the first one. The rest of them are just basically different starting styles.
Val Selton's log, day 1. I'm excited to get underway with this new ship. I'm not entirely sure what I'll do yet. Trading, exploring. Am I brave enough to face combat? Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be exciting. Here goes nothing.
Okay, so when you get into the game, you are on a space station and you're outside of your ship, and it doesn't really tell you what to do. It kind of just dumps you here. So yeah, as a new player you're wondering what the hell to do. Is this your ship? Is this your person? What's going on? Well, this is our ship, and this is the one we're going to be using for the short term. And you can just climb on in here, and it gives you a little menu
Elite
thing there.
Vanguard.
There we go. Press H to open the help menu and select a tutorial to learn about X4 Foundations. So this is our tutorial system. And the reason why I've decided to do this video is because the tutorial system is great, it's useful, it'll show you how to do different things, And we can check some of them out as well as we play this game, because it does lead on to various things, and like it'll teach you how to do some things. But first off, I recommend, if you've already got one, use an Xbox controller, or if you haven't got one, find yourself a controller, a PC or Xbox controller. I thankfully have an Xbox controller. I have the Elite controller, but for this purpose, it's just a standard controller. Just makes it so much easier to fly the ships with and be able to navigate the menus. So we'll just drop the tutorial off for now, and we'll jump in our ship, and straight away we get a menu. Now this menu is a generic menu. You can also access it by going onto your map by pressing the M button, or obviously when you sat down it comes up here. As it says, you're near a wharf or equipment dock, consider playing the upgrade tutorial from the help menu. You can't upgrade from here, so don't bother about that. Before we set off, let's press the M button. And let's have a look where we are. So if we scroll out, we're at the Black Hole Sun 4. And there's nothing we can see here. And it's still not telling us what we should be doing. So what we're going to do is just drop the menu off. The map off even. We'll request to undock. Now as I say,
equipment dock.
you can try and fly with that, but it's naff. So get yourself your controller and you find it so much easier to fly around.
Eclipse. Short range transporter. Mass
Now
transporter.
if you are using the
B.
keyboard, W and S is up and down. And then you've got your side to sides. Q and E rotates you like so. You got Z for backwards and X for forwards. And you notice that it kind of does like a bit of a scale system. Now,
Short range transporter. A.
if you're using a controller, oh, I accidentally shot him. Don't be doing that. With a controller, it goes to 0 every time, so it sets itself and drops to 0. So let's head on out and find out what the hell's going on. As soon as you break
Nova,
3, we'll get a bit of
Vanguard.
speed.
Nova. Sentinel.
So other than flying around, there's nothing really much more to do. Things are flying in and out. You can attack them if you want. But obviously this station then will become an enemy and it'll try and shoot you. What we want to do, and what it doesn't tell you to do, is you want to start scanning the system. So if you press the X on your pad, or you can press the button for your ship interaction, easy way is just if you go on your map and it's just there, and you want to go to your modes button. You want to go to your long range scan mode. Now on the keyboard that's the shift and 3 when I press the right one, and then if you press your alternate fire button just for a couple of seconds, it'll send out a beam and all these things will pop up.
Cerberus. Sentinel.
You'll see them
Argon
appearing.
equipment dock.
Oh, we're still flying. You'll
Ides,
see them appearing
Vanguard.
on your screen. Oh, you want to be looking for little circles appearing. There you go, you see the little circles there?
Argon
And
station.
as you can see, the Argon station has a lot of circles around it.
Argon equipment dock.
So we know there's some
Argon
stuff here for us
station
to
security
scan
vessel.
a bit closer than what we've already been doing. So if we press the Shift 2, which is the scan
Argon
mode,
equipment dock.
you'll see the purple glow around your ship, but also you'll see the outline of the station goes through like funny colours. These colours represent things like
Elite,
production
Vanguard, mass
modules,
transporter.
build
B.
modules and stuff like that. Now we can scan these, and as you can see that's just scan that, and sometimes you can unlock the
Argon
blueprints for
equipment
them.
dock. Mass
You can also
transporter.
find
B.
things on them, and we're going to have a look for one now.
Short range transporter. A.
See if we can
Short
find
range
something.
Ides, Vanguard. Argon equipment dock.
There we go. We heard it. This here is what we're looking for. So this will start our single player, so to speak, storyline, which will get you your first station. It's always the first one that you find. So all you do is get up close to it. And then it should pick up. Press A.
That should do it. I had to disable my voice filter. I was beginning to think my messages were being intercepted by those split fellows. I'm a little disappointed that it was this easy. I don't suppose they sent you, did they? Oh, that would be quite devious.
Okay, now we have an option to speak to him. Who are they?
What should I call them? I suppose captors is quite apt. Employers? They let me work on my own projects some days, you see.
Mass transporter.
Do you need help?
Ah, yes. You see, I'm in a spot of bother. I'm in the middle of some important scientific research, which I'm unable to pursue personally from my current location. I'm looking for an assistant to aid me.
Short-range transporter.
What do you
I'll
need?
send the task to your ship computer. This is rather exciting.
Okay, that was terrible timing. But yeah, we'll accept the mission.
Wonderful. I have managed to place the device on a nearby docking area. You should be getting the coordinates now.
Okay, so your mission has been highlighted on your HUD, the little yellow thing here. Now, this is where I would take the time to learn the controls of my ship properly, as in the shortcuts and stuff like that. So, as I said earlier, press the H key, joystick, HOTAS, and gamepad mapping. Start tutorial. And it says you can abort the tutorial. Well, we don't want to abort the tutorial. It'll take a minute just to... Controls can be customized for many input devices. Yep, we know this. It does take its time. And you can press the escape and the options button. Settings. Then the controls. And you can load your profiles from here. And this is obviously various things that it'll allow you to change platform movements. This is when you're on the ground, so you can have a look at what everything does. It also gives you what the version of the whatever you're using. Obviously the gamepad for me. Menu navigation, to how you navigate the menus. And obviously the general. Your strafing, your steering, accelerations, your primary fire, spacebar or the right trigger, primary weapons at cursor, middle mouse button, secondary weapon is your L and your R for the keyboard, and obviously this is for your whatever you're using. Primary weapon groups, which we'll come to at a later stage, ammunition, which we'll come to at a later stage, and obviously your countermeasures and stuff like that. What I suggest you do is not necessarily the tutorial. As you can see, it takes so long with the tutorials, which is why I've clicked the first one. What I do suggest you do is just go to the settings menu and just making note of a few of these things, because you've got the things like this much easier to have once you've got them available for you. And obviously these menus, you don't really need to worry about the menus, because when you're in them, they're pretty self-explanatory and you don't need to use stuff like that. Various camera options you've got as well. Things like this is useful, so you can dock by pressing Shift D, get up from your chair, which is Control D, radar mode, which is Control M, autopilot, which is useful, guidance. Guidance is basically where it'll pinpoint you to certain locations. Container magnet, which is useful because when things drop in the space, you press and hold the O button and that will suck it in, or you can use the button RS, which is mine for this one, for the joystick or whatever you're using. VR if you're using VR as well. So just familiarize yourself with that, and that will make it a hell of a lot easier when you're flying. But we're going to end our tutorial because we don't need to do anything like that. Flight school will just tell you the basics. If you really are struggling, then take the flight school. Otherwise, get yourself in, fly around. The only thing the joystick seems to not do is allow the rotation. But if you've got the setting, it will flip itself back anyway. You can change that, which obviously because I'm using the joystick I tend to not change it, but you can change it. You got auto roll, which is on, and there is something else we want to change as well. If I need to remember where it is. We've got the aim assist on. Oh, that's the other thing that we've got. If we, oh, we can get it from here actually. This here, flight assist. If you disable the flight assist and you fly forward and backwards like so, even though if you notice, even though
Argon equipment dock.
I'll try not point to things. So even though I've slowed down, you'll notice that as I rotate around, the speed of what I'm actually doing is changing. Because with the flight assist disabled, it will continue flying you in the direction you've accelerated. So if we accelerate this way, and I look here, you'll see that we're continuing in the opposite direction. Pop that on if you want to, and it will just instantly stop you for the speed which you're doing, like so. It will slow you down. If you prefer, you can use the keyboard to kind of filter what speed you want to do if you want to set it to a certain amount. I tend not to worry too much because you're either going full speed or not. And you have a boost which uses your shields. You can boost for a short period of time. Don't boost if you're going into combat because it will take a lot of your shields off, as you can see. Always use the travel mode, which is this here. Smaller ships travel, get into travel mode a lot quicker than the larger ships, and this thing is fast. There are some little bit of basics about the flight and stuff like that, but we'll stop there for now.
Highway, unknown sector.
Okay, and we'll go to our map, and we'll go to our mission offers. Oh no, sorry, we want our mission manager. Our other missions and scientific expedition. This is the one we just had. We went off it for a minute because obviously we went on to the tutorial. So if you've done that, then obviously that's how you get it back up. If you haven't done that, then you should still have it active. Let's set it to active. And that's telling us we need to go to the Argon equipment dock, which is obviously where we've been before. Close our map and let's fly on over. Now I use a combination of the keyboard and my pad, so I'm going to press Shift and D, and it will give us a little green thingy-majiggy there directing us to where we are. Since we're in a safe area, I'll boost, and then I'll slow us down and head into the docking section here, like so. Now we have docking computers, but this will be a basic ship with no docking computer on it, so we'll have to do it ourselves. And you get this little handy thing here like so, and you've got to line it all up like so. It'll all go green, and then we just want to lower it down nicely there, and it clicks into place like so.
Successfully docked.
And we can get up and move around again. Now if you've got a joystick, you can press the thumb pad in and it'll make you run. If you are using a keyboard, which we'll flip over to now, you will notice that if you press shift it doesn't do anything. Shift in this game is for using shortcuts. If we press shift D, it teleports us back to our ship.
Vanguard.
To run is double tapping W. If you go back to the menus, you can change that and make it so that your run is all the time. But I don't tend to do that. So we want to access this little control panel here, and we want to head to the yellow bit here, which is a trader's corner. This is where we're supposed to be. And you'll notice now we've got it where it's highlighted over. Where are you? Oh, it's over the far side. So we want to drop down. So we'll just use this here. I mean, for such a big game, because this is quite a big game, when you actually finally expand and whatnot, you'll notice the game is rather big. The level of detail in these space stations is phenomenal. A little map thing. I mean, look at that flying in there. That's pretty smart. That's a fairly big ship as well. Okay, while we head on over to this, I'll just point out that some of you may have noticed the Star Wars mod that is not enabled. If those of you who are a fan of Star Wars, the Star Wars mod is brilliant, but it's also bugged as well. So it struggles on some of the bigger ships to sustain itself, and I found myself in a bit of an endless crashing loop, so I ended up dropping it off for now. Hopefully they'll solve that quite soon, and then we can get back into it, and when it does I will introduce it to the tutorial so you can see some of the ships. So this is what we're after here, this little icon thing here. We want to pick this up.
Very good. I see you have found the device. This will allow me to monitor your activity and perform experiments remotely. Please keep it safe. Oh my, it seems your pulse is elevated. You must be very excited to take part in this expedition. I'm glad. So, shall we begin? I will attempt to direct you in the best way possible. Please be patient with me.
Okay, so if you look in the bottom left corner, it's telling us to undock. So instead of having to walk all the way back again, we can just press Shift and D. And we're back to our ship. Sit in our seat, request to undock. And we're off again.
Organ equipment dock.
I don't expect you've spoken with too many Boron before. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Bozo Tar, and it is a pleasure. I do wish it were in person, but my current situation is quite precarious. You must be quite curious on what a lonely old Boron is trying to achieve. There are still so many mysteries and unanswered questions. Are spaceflies sentient? Where are the lost Boron systems? Is faster than light telepathy possible? It is our task to push the physics of this universe to the breaking point and see if it answers any of those questions. My current employers only seem happy when my research results in novel weapon modifications. Very curious people, those Split. I do hope they move me to a new tank soon. My tentacles grow weak.
Okay, so whilst he's been babbling on like an idiot, we've got a new mission, which is to fly to the specific area.
It has been such a long time since we have had news of it.
He will continue to constantly send you messages which are absolutely pointless, but thankfully it isn't too far to get to. So as you can see, we are already at 40 kilometers and counting down very quickly. So we'll just get ourselves there. 20 kilometers.
Getting close to where I detected an anomaly. Could you please try using the long-range scanner to search for an anomaly in this vicinity?
Okay, so it's asking you to use your long-range scanners. So you want to switch over to the long-range, which is the blue hovery thing around all your windows, and it's secondary fire button for 2 seconds that I usually press. Okay, we're not close enough, so just do a quick boost. Whoa, there we go, we've just flown past it. Okay, let's try again. Okay, that's moving. See if that gets it there. Okay, it might not actually be there, so let's just send a beam around everywhere else.
Are you having trouble locating the anomaly in the area I have stated? I suggest you use the long-range scanner to help find it.
Let's just get close to this. Okay, we're on top of that. There we go.
There it is. If reports are to be believed, these anomalies are tears which may lead to other areas of space, much like the jump gates. I suggest you mark the location of the anomaly on your map. So, how adventurous do you feel today? Thanks to my research, I do have a fair idea of where you may end up. Of course, the quickest way to confirm my theory is to put it into practice.
So whilst he was talking, you noticed I dropped a nav beacon there, and I will go through how to do that again just in a short second. But if you notice, this is pushing me away. Now these anomalies they have a negative effect on your ship, but you'll see in a minute as to why they are useful. Now they're only useful if you're flying around like I'm doing and you're using your long range scanners, which flashes in purple. You drop a nav beacon so you know where it is. If you do that enough times, these become very, very useful. Now, to drop a nav beacon, you want to go into your ship menu, deploy civilian, and then nav beacon, and it'll drop it exactly where you are. Now, we're going to fly out this and see what it does.
Entering system. Grand exchange.
Can you hear me? It took a moment to realign the frequency. It is just as I thought. You have made it through the anomaly and emerged in a distant region. Your location is actually of great interest to me. Over the years, I have managed to pull sensor logs from passing ships to help further my work. I highlighted this as a prime location for my research, should I ever get the chance. While the previous anomaly is interesting, my findings point to something else here, which I expect will lead to a groundbreaking discovery. Allow me to guide you to a particular area.
Okay, so as you can see,
Space.
it has teleported us to a new location. If you hit your map, it will show you where you are, which is there. And you can see we've actually traveled somewhere where there is no link between the two. Now, these lines here are links to different systems from jump gates. You also get highways as well, which look slightly different. And you'll also notice these little markers here. These are things that you've picked up from your scanning that you're not quite sure what are at the moment. Worth remembering that because these stations will become useful later down the line. You'll also notice our nav beacon that we dropped, so we know that our anomaly is there. Them anomalies will remain, and you can use them anomalies to get to where you are again. So it will bring us back out here. Now that is telling us where we need to be. That's what that icon means there. And that's what we're going to be heading on to on our next episode. As I'm going to leave this one here now because there's a lot of information to take in from episode 1. Episode 2 will concentrate on more of the mission, and then we'll start going into things like trading, mining, your stations, upgrading your ships, stuff like that. Things that you want to be doing as you're playing along this game. Now, bear in mind, I am using the expansions, and they will start coming into effect as soon as we started. So things will be slightly different if you haven't already used the expansion or if you haven't decided to activate it yourself. So just bear in mind, I will tell you the differences between the two when they happen. But the main one is that the Xenon are already on a war front in this gameplay. Whereas if you're playing and you're not using the expansions, then you'll find that the Xenon are very subdued and they won't bother you. Bear that in mind if you do activate it, that you could end up with a lot of problems early on. So just bear that in mind. It makes it a little bit harder, but it makes it for a more interesting game. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode and hopefully you're finding it useful. Please let me know in the comment section any comments whatsoever, good, bad, anything. I'm trying to do something here that allows you to be able to play this game a little bit easier. When I first played it, I found it a little hard to get used to at first, but once you do get used to it, It's just an amazing game. There's so much you can do, and there's some massive ships that you can fly in it, and you're getting fleets of hundreds of ships if you want to. It's just brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant game. So hopefully you're enjoying this series so far. Leave any comments whatsoever in the comment section below. Check out the description as well, where I'll leave the link to the game itself if you want to purchase the game, the collector's edition or just the standard edition as well, and also a link to the description of the game on Steam as well, so you can check it out for yourself. Until next time, everybody, take care for now, and I'll see you all soon.